YouTube.
And the funny thing is, once it goes live, it's going to start with what you just said because there's a delay, as you know.
Fair enough. We are live
So
on the YouTube. All right,
I think
Jess.
we're live on the YouTube.
Do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, but I want to see that we're actually live first.
This meeting is being recorded as content.
And the funny thing is, once it goes live, all right,
It's
there we go.
live. All right. You started with that. What's up, Tim?
Hey, nothing much. Are we live on the Facebook as well,
No, we are
or
just live on YouTube right
what,
now.
The
or the
YouTube.
YouTube, the
The
YouTube,
YouTube.
right?
The
Okay.
YouTube.
Yeah,
Get it
because
right.
yes,
All right.
and I'm of an age where I'm still remember what we called it the Facebook. So we
The
got the Facebook, the YouTube.
The
Um,
MySpace.
oh
The
yeah, are we?
MySpace.
I
MySpace.
Don't
did
forget
check.
about.
I did check my page. I did see that we are live on the MySpace
All
and
right.
on AOL Instant Messenger. We're also live
Yes.
there.
Oh, now we're good.
What is the
Whenever
name
I
of that
run
chat
into
room we're
somebody,
in? It's the Ska chat room.
hey, can you? I know we're live, but are you okay if I bring Adam on for fun? Yeah, I'll bring him on later.
Yeah, maybe later. Yeah, okay. Are you
Yeah, well,
talking to him?
yeah. He said, "No way, link me in, brother," and he spelled it Brudda. That's different.
I mean, we've never brought a listener on to interview with us. That could be fun. He doesn't have the outline though.
Do you? All right. Do you want to
Anyway,
introduce
this is
us?
Ska Talk with Skagazine. My name is Jess. I am here with my co-host Eric.
Hey, everybody.
And tonight we have a very special guest, Tim from Ninguid Records. Welcome.
Hey there.
How's it going?
It is going a-okay. I'm super excited to be here. I drank 5 Red Bulls, and I also took a couple of glasses of water just to see which one fights itself out. So will it be the
Oh,
water? Will it be the caffeine? I don't know. But what I also want you to know is I got a 1-year-old back here. She's mine, my daughter. And
It's fine.
it is bedtime, and she may start crying at any point.
okay.
So if you hear
Fine.
crying, it's it's either A, my 1-year-old, or my wife because she can't get the 1-year-old to go to sleep. Also, I have a 7-year-old, so she also may start crying just because she wants to get attention from the 1-year-old. So I again apologize to everyone out there in podcast and the YouTube Wonderland for this, but please, please, please do not, I repeat, do not disconnect because I am sure at some point I'm going to get canceled tonight and let I want everyone to be able to hear the whole story.
Canceled on the
That's
Skagazine.
Gagazine,
The
yes.
Thus,
Skagazine.
Magazine on
Live
the
on the
YouTube.
MySpace.
Oh, wait, are we going back to MySpace now? You know what? Could we bring MySpace back?
I
Like,
would love
what
to
if
bring MySpace
Skagazine
back.
like brought it back to where it was not just what was the guy's name? The one guy who's like everybody's
Tom,
friend. Tom. Thank you.
Yeah,
yeah.
he was everybody's friend.
You can actually still go on there.
I get,
I
but it's so sad. It's just
yeah,
Tom being like, "Hey guys, hey, remember me?"
I went on like maybe like 2 years ago. I actually went through the steps of because I had two my different MySpace accounts. One, personal, and one for just music. And the I could not remember what my login information was for the personal one. And so if you message it, and this is not a bit, just so you know, if you message them, they will reset your password and everything, and you can log in to your old MySpace account.
Whoa, I didn't know that because I tried several times and I couldn't remember, and I don't have the email associated with
Yeah,
it
Is
anymore.
it
I was
yeah,
is
like,
it like the Wild West? There's like things just rolling in the dust, and
yeah. And no,
there's
but
like 1980s music set up, or
yeah,
whatever.
no, yeah, it's well, there's not a lot because I don't know if you remember this. They had what they claimed to be a server crash and it lost about 75% of everything that was on there. In reality, most people believe, in the IT world, that it was expensive to hold all this stuff, and they just deleted it. And they deleted 75% what was on the site just to keep the server costs low. So like you can even see if you go in, like even if you don't have the original email, they'll transfer it to a new email for you.
oh,
But you can see that even like if you look at your page, it'll have like the pictures that are remaining. but then it'll still have like a little X where that picture that was deleted should be. So like I guess they don't have the IT bandwidth to go in and clear out where the picture shouldn't, should have been deleted.
Oh my gosh, that's
Tonight,
amazing.
MySpace is going to get the most hits they've
Yeah,
gotten
I'm going to be
in a
one of
decade,
them.
and it's going to be like five. It's going to be like five, and we're all going to see Tom being like, "Hey,
Well, not
I'm
even.
better than
I have
Zach." What
friends
the fuck?
again.
Well, do you remember when Justin Timberlake and a bunch of his like investor friends purchased MySpace at one point, and
I
they had
don't
it.
know this. Tell this
Yeah,
story.
yeah. No, I mean, that's pretty much it. Justin
Oh, that's a
Timberlake
good
is
story.
because the shift they wanted to shift it almost exclusively to like a music site, and so they purchased it, and then they realized, okay, no one's going to come here for music, and so then they sold it. So MySpace has been sold something like 2 or 3 times in the last like 20 years.
Oh
And every
wow.
and every time the value just gets lower and lower from the sale.
So for a buck 99, you could own MySpace.
You
If
remember that song? It was like Bobos. They cost $1.99. No,
No, what?
No,
What?
I think you're just
that
making
must
that
be a
up.
Philly thing.
Say it, sing it again, sing it loud.
No,
I
nobody wants to
mean,
hear me sing.
if it was a Philly thing, wouldn't it be like John's just $1.99?
We did have Bobos.
Just so you know,
Today it's John's.
Adam, who we were talking about, is our. Do we have one viewer now? Because if we do, he
We have
is
a
the
couple
viewer.
viewers.
Okay, Adam is watching.
Oh,
And hi,
hi,
Mom.
Adam. I don't know
So
who else
Adam,
is
we were talking
watching.
about you. We are talking about your scene, and maybe if Jess is feeling good, she's gonna let you come on later on.
Yeah. When we run out of things to talk about, we'll bring you on.
Whoa! How would you feel if like you were heard on a podcast and
I
people spoke
think
about
I
you?
think he realizes I'm joking.
I would actually appreciate the honesty if like it's just like sometimes you ever go to like a wedding and like you look at the table that you're in and you realize that like you were just like the second to last on the cutoff list.
Oh
Dude,
my
so
God.
okay, so I've got a wedding story. Do you want to hear my wedding story?
Yeah,
Why not?
sure.
So I used to be married. That's not my wedding story.
I mean, technically it is.
That's just I guess technically it is. But so her one of her best friends way back like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, was not a big fan of mine. And she was in her best, my ex-wife now, was in her best friend's wedding. Is that a movie? Maybe.
Yeah.
So I was put literally at the kids' table. So like everybody else was done like eating and it went through everything. I was literally with my 2 year old with like all the children. And apparently the children eat last because like the dances and stuff had started. And I have yet to get my chicken cordon bleu or whatever the fuck they were serving. But yes, that is a true story.
I went to a wedding where the bride sister did not care for the groomsmen. The groom. Basically they all met in college and the groom was the local weed dealer. And and so, as you can imagine, sis was just like, I don't like the fact that you're dating the weed dealer. Now it becomes, I don't like the fact that you're getting engaged. And then it was like the wedding. And so, she's doing her maid of honor toast. And you know how, like, the toast, you always, like, occasionally you hear a toast where it's just like, I first met, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I didn't like him, but like, he grew on and we learned to love each other. When she started that first part, when I first met him, I didn't like him. And then she never like
Never brought that back
never
around.
circled around, and it just literally, it literally ended with her basically being like, "I love my little sister, and I expect you to do do right by him."
You're a piece of shit, but here I am.
Here I am.
So,
I can't say no to being the maid of honor for my sister.
so there was a point at this wedding that I went to after I finally got food. I had like a 1.5 year old, and I had to go pick him up because like the wedding went on long enough that like the babysitter was done. So I like was literally outside like in like 100-degree weather, like looking in at this wedding as everyone's dancing with my like and just like outside with my child. And is this therapy time for me? Can I keep going on? As I sat outside, what I heard come on was my my ex-wife now, but my wife and I's wedding song came on,
Which was?
and that is what she danced to, like my wife and like one of the groomsmen danced to. As I sat outside with our kid, like sweating bullets on a golf course.
Oh, how rude. How
Yeah,
rude.
I should
And
have
not
known
in a
then that my marriage was doomed.
rude kind of way.
But, so Tim, I explained to you that we would rabbit trail, and we did such a good job starting off that way. So I heard a rumor that you had a festival that you were putting on. So you want to tell our five viewers about that? And
Sure. On July 11th and July 12th, we are going to have Ninguid Fest 2 Electric Boogaloo. And what we're going to do is we're going to
pause.
bring.
Did you say is it really called Electric Boogaloo?
No, no, no. I'm not trying to
Damn
get.
it, because I know
I
the
know, I
reference.
thought I missed
I
that.
actually
I was
saw
like,
that
what?
movie in the theaters. I saw it in the theaters with my mother.
That's that seems like a weird not and
Yeah,
nothing
can we
against you.
cut that out? Can we cut that part
This
out?
seems like a
No.
weird thing that your mom would take you to electric boogaloo, break into electric boogaloo. And again, no shade to your mom. I'm actually impressed because I'm the target audience for electric for break into electric boogaloo, and my mom didn't take me.
You know what, Jess? Can you cut that part out?
I think the festival needs a new name now.
Can you please call it Electric Boogaloo?
I wish I could, but
Gagaboo? I don't know, but every festival
I
needs to
think
be
okay,
Adam's gonna
here's
call it that from now on because he
here
just said it is now, and I don't know what that means, but I think that's what he's gonna call
so
it.
I'm sorry, I interrupted because you brought up Breaking Two, which is a fun part of me and my mother bonding,
well,
which is weird as
maybe
shit, I guess. But
maybe if you host a dance contest and you can raise enough funds, we can pay for the legal defense to call it Ingrid Fest 2.
we
You
got to throw
know,
down the cardboard just like in Electric Boogaloo.
Eric and I had
Cardboard's
a
hitting the
beatbox.
ground and you're fucking
Do you
breaking.
remember our beatbox contest last weekend?
You know, we're talking about a festival here, Jess.
I know, but you just said you could have a dance contest, but I thought we could do a beatbox contest instead.
Maybe.
All right, and he wants to change the subject now because he lost so fucking bad.
Me?
Yes.
I won the beatbox
You
contest.
cannot beatbox to save your life.
And you could?
Oh yeah.
Okay, Tim.
Go ahead. I want to hear this.
I am
I
not going
am
to
not
beatbox.
beatboxing
But
tonight.
look at the
I,
two of us, and you realize that neither of us know how to beatbox.
Oh yeah, I'm just trying to be polite.
I mean, I have not tried to have
Yes,
alcohol
Jess,
beatbox
come
tonight.
on, we're live. Show them your moves
I mean,
or your spit.
I was feeling a lot better the other night.
Because you were high and drunk.
I was what?
Never mind. So, Tim, I am so sorry. I really went off on tangent. So tell us about your festival that's coming up, and I'm going to shut up for at least 5 minutes so you can actually get this out.
It is a-okay. So again, on the 11th and 12th of July, we are going to be hosting Ninguid Fest 2 title spyline to be determined. Night one, July 11th, we're gonna have Scabassatory, we're gonna have the Hot Rails, we're gonna have Los Swamp Daddies, and we're gonna have Secret Cajun Band headlining. Night two, we're going to have Orange Tree, we're going to have Stuck Lucky, we're going to have Joystick, and headlining is Flying Raccoon Suit.
Wow.
So tickets are $20 each night, or you can do an online only ticket at Ticketmaster where it's $35 for both nights. You can get tickets at Ticketmaster.com or you can get ticket from the pageant box office. Now you may be saying, "Hey Tim, the show's at Blueberry Hill. Why can't you get tickets from Blueberry Hill's box office?" And that's a great question. And I'm glad that I'm answering it because I could hear you telepathy, all six of you online on YouTube. The pageant the pageant owners also own Blueberry Hill. They also, if you venues the same way, they also own Delmar Hall. So to basically keep everything centralized for all three venues, the box office is at the pageant. Blueberry Hill, for the most part, is a functional restaurant that does shows in their basement, And so it's just they realize it's just not it's just too labor intensive to take the wait staff away to process tickets. So you can go to the pageant, you can go to Ticketmaster, and again, $35 for 2 nights of ska. I just saw Catch 22 um play in Chicago at Reggie's last month, I guess.
Yeah.
And that was $35
Mhm.
just for just for the show. And that was one man. And again, the cost of me, getting to Chicago, driving the 5 hours to Chicago, renting a hotel, driving back. So I always try to keep ticket prices as low as possible, just so people can make the shows, especially those people who are out of town.
That's awesome. Is this an all age show?
It is. It is an all ages show. A lot of us have families, right? Again, I have the wife and the 2 kids. Guys and guys in Super Cajun Band have kids. Guys in Orange Tree, have kids. And especially the Orange Tree with them going on, they're going to be going on first. They're super excited because all their kids can come. Like they'll
Yeah.
come, and by the time, and it'll be close to bedtime, and they can send the kids away with their spouses, not like, hey, Uber driver, just take this child away from me. But so yeah, I all my shows, at least we'll say that what I call the tentpole shows, the festival in the summer, and then our annual Scholar show in December are going to always be all ages because I want to be able to have families coming. Again, like I said, I like to bring my family to the
Yeah,
shows
are your
too.
kids into music?
Oh my, well, my the one is
The
one
youngest one
is
probably,
she's
yeah.
she's in like that. That's what she's into. But no, the oldest one is really into music. She is, she's aggressively wanting to learn how to play instruments, to the point that, you know, she's into music because, you know, I'm a musician. I do the business side of music. My wife's a musician. So a good chunk of our friends are musicians. So in her world, the only thing that's normal is if you have to be a musician. So like so when she meets people and they aren't musicians, she thinks that they're weird. And so I've tried to explain to her that they are, but that she shouldn't tell them that. Eric fell asleep.
I did
That
not.
would not be the first time.
Whoa, whoa. So do we have to talk about this story? So do you want to hear this
Yeah.
story, Tim?
Is
Uh,
this what happened? You lost a beatbox contest and just said, you know what?
No.
no,
Bad time for
actually,
Eric.
I went to take a nap and I fell asleep and missed a whole episode and left her by herself.
left me by myself. It's okay.
So technically, doesn't that mean that she's now officially the leader of the
I
Oh,
mean, I've
podcast?
she
always
was
been
the
the
leader
leader.
beforehand. So
At one point in time, I used to do this by myself before I brought Eric along and Ryan and Janice, and we have a bunch of hosts. We kind of rotate or alternate or whatever you want to call it.
And you guys drew the short straws today and had to talk to me.
no, I was like, let me on this fucking thing. I
He
was
was. I
pushing.
said I have
I
what's hoping
respect
to
your
be a
wisdom.
live episode with Ninguid Records, Tim, and I need one person with me, and the first person that answers gets to come, and it was Eric.
And I
So
don't know if you know this, but technically, I'm now your fourth guest that's also a podcaster
Yeah.
because I run the
Oh,
Ninguid Records Festival podcast.
I saw that.
I
Yeah,
saw that. How do you know
And
you're the fourth?
he must
because
have
I follow
listened.
you on social media,
I love
and you
you.
guys
I
have.
love you.
And last time we interviewed Matt Vest, I was like, oh, it's only our second. And I forgot that
That's the
Matt
one I fell asleep
is a
during.
podcaster. And I felt really, really terrible because I love Matt. I
Yeah,
just didn't think of him as a podcaster. I thought of him as a musician. I don't know.
I love Matt. Matt is one of my dearest friends. Matt, unfortunately, when I am feeling low about the business or about myself as a person, Matt is one of those people that I talk to, and like either he will go, "Hey, you know what? I think you're being ridiculous," or he'll go, you know, you are often the adult in the room when it comes to the business side of stuff. And so everything that you feel is valid. But what I love so much about Matt is that either spectrum of I'm an idiot or no, I'm 100% right. I know I'm getting his unvarnished truth.
Yeah, that's always good.
Yeah.
So
That's
you
what you
had
want.
mentioned earlier that you said it was $35 for both days.
Yeah, 30. Yeah, if you
Okay.
get the 2 day
So,
pass, it's $35 from Ticketmaster, and then individually it's $20.
and somebody's about to like come on and tell me that I'm wrong with what I'm about to say. And so take it as just an example.
I'll watch the comments.
But Streetlight Manifesto is coming to my area, and it's going to cost if somebody wants to go to that show, which is them and one opening band, right? It's going to cost $50, and it's going to be at a venue that if you want a beer, it's going to cost you like as much as you would get a beer at a ballpark, like 15 to $20.
Wow.
And unfortunately, I'm gonna grandstand and get my stump speech, and then I'll get off of it, and you can respond if you want to or not. What I find sad is that when there's festivals that are going on that are so many amazing bands, and I mean, I'm assuming, Tim, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you are not getting rich off of this festival.
No, no. So
You will have a bill when this is over, probably.
well, I price things in a way that my my break even point is 100 people,
Okay.
right? That I mean that's just how it is. The break even is
Mental
100
note,
people.
Jess. Mental note. We need to remember that.
Yeah.
Mental note.
Yeah,
We
We
had
100.
just started
we're,
booking shows,
yeah, we're
honestly.
starting to book shows, so stuff like that is actually very good
Yeah,
information.
and definitely, and we can, and something I've always offered is anyone wants any advice, I'm more than welcome to. I'm more than happy to like offer advice on how to do this stuff.
So we're
But
gonna actually have a conversation with you. Can we book another conversation?
Now
yeah,
he's a consultant.
yeah,
Okay,
yes,
yeah.
yes. But
Yeah.
yeah, so my break even for the festival is 100 people each night. For the Scala Days show is 75 people each night. And basically it you can make a tidy profit, right? Am I, am I is it enough for me to like, okay, well, I don't have to work for the rest of the month? No. But does it help fund the releases for the label? Yeah, yeah. And so, and then, again, and also managing, or I manage Orange Tree, I manage Secret Cajun Band. So it also goes into like the management side of like handling business for, business affairs for them. And I also produce the merch for both of those bands. So it goes, so the money goes
You're
into,
busy.
yeah, the money gets recycled. And part of that is I remember like years ago, The Urge, um, arguably the most popular St. Louis ska band of all time, they were talking about how everything they did was just to roll back into the business.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they got money from their, the money they made from their first cassette went to their first CD. That money went to their, their second CD, and so on and so on and so forth. And so I take a lot of that, that to heart with the label. And again, if you're starting out, I would say, okay, figure out what your break even point is, and don't overextend yourself, right? And just be mindful of that. Again, we talked before we started. If you're in a college town, you're probably not going to want to book shows in the summer, right? When everyone's gone. If you're in a town that doesn't have any local bands, like local ska bands, or if you're doing a ska show, you got to be mindful that like if you're bringing in a band that doesn't have a name, you're going to need to find someone in the local community, some type of musician or band to like help support, right? Because your local acts help bring people in to see those, national touring bands that they're not that your local scene might not be fully, aware of or fully engaged with.
Makes sense.
Eric, did you fall asleep again?
No, no, I'm listening very intently.
I would like to know, you are involved in so many different areas in business with music. Where did you start? Like,
Yeah.
how did you get into it?
So I guess technically it would have been Orange Tree.
Okay.
So I think sometimes people the confuse. I think there's a Mandela effect when it comes to Orange Tree and the origins. So I think there are people who think that who and who don't know that Jason Nelson, after he left ME230, took a break from music and then joined Orange Tree, that was already existing band. And so one of the things that Jason was really wanting to do very early on was he was just like, hey, we need to have when we're playing shows, we need to have like a merch guy to watch our merch. And I was just at shows because my best friend Tess Styling is the drummer of Orange Tree. And they're like, well, Tim's just always here, so we'll have him watch merch while we're playing. And then that just turned into like I was just the merch guy. And then that and then that just turned to I was just going on tour with them. Like so we would just go on tour. So the very early on, like I didn't have a say in like like how merch looked. Like now like I'm 100% hands on like how merch how Orange Street merch looks. But then I was just selling it, but I was just learning the business, talking to other merch people or talking to other bands and stuff like that. And I always knew that at some point the end game was going to be starting a label. It just took 20 years. It just took 20
Yeah.
years, for that to happen. But I knew it was something that like I'm like I like this because in my head at the time I fancied myself more on the musician side. And so and I got to play shows, right? I got to do that. And then I just kind of just I don't want to say disappeared because I was going to shows and being part of my local scene. I just for a period of time wasn't doing anything business related to this business to the side of music, and I wasn't doing anything musically related. But I always had like that encouragement. Miguel from Secret Cajun Band was a big encourager of like hey, you need to get this label off the ground, you need to get this label off the ground. And then even then, as things happen, I didn't talk to Miguel for like 20 years. Not that like we had a dispute or anything. It's just that sometimes, as I think we know, that if you're a certain age and when you're younger, just people just you go off and do different things. And
Mhm.
then it just worked out that we ended up like now working together. And now every couple of days there's a on my phone I'm yelling at the guys in Secret Cajun Band like, Miguel, you screwed up again, that you're gonna have to run 20 laps. And and then I might get him. He wears a helmet with the GoPro, so I can make sure he actually does the 20 laps. So it's a great relationship to see how we've come like full circle, where he was like encouraging me, and now I'm encouraging him through working out.
Yes.
Actually, just so you know, Miguel's in incredible shape. He is a water polo coach. He is the head of the St. Louis Area Water Polo Association. So basically, anyone from like elementary school to Olympic level water polo in the St. Louis area reports to him. So, but yeah, no, he's in amazing shape. He could probably take me uh in a fight if the fight went the distance, right?
Can
If
we
I
do
don't
that
knock him,
live? Can we do that live?
yeah, that's the
Go get
next
him. Bring him on. Bring
pay-per-view.
him on.
That'll
That'll
be the
be our
next.
next live episode will be you guys in water with polo equipment.
Well, if I can
We
get the
should put
ball
that
in,
on the OnlyFans page, actually.
if I can get the ball and just launch it to his head, I could probably, like I said, if it's the marathon of the fight, he's gonna win. But if I can just get him ground and pound in that first 30 seconds, I think I'm gonna win.
We're gonna have to see this. Gonna have to
Yeah,
watch
I
it.
think this will be our next episode,
Oh,
actually.
for the Patreon. Yeah.
Yeah, for
Oh,
Patreon.
for sure. I will. You are shocked. I still have that from my DIY roots. You'd be shocked at things that I will do for attention and money. So if we can get this going, let's do it.
So somewhere along the lines of you wanting to start a label, you ended up getting into booking shows, and now you have this festival and the Ska Days show. What made you want to do something like that?
Well,
Was it the money? Was it the money?
No.
it was the money. My wife was like, Tim, our golden swimming pool is only like half the size and it should be. I want an Olympic size swimming pool made of gold. So why don't you just start out and doing and putting out music on vinyl and doing independent shows?
And it has to be ska
It
music.
has to be ska. But that's the thing, and it's funny because half the roster isn't ska, right?
Okay.
Half the roster is not ska, but to like some people, the label's not ska enough, and then to some
Uh-huh.
people, they just see it as a ska label, right? Because and then it's just it's funny, but I'd been I'd done like promoting shows again back in that period, of Orange Tree, where I was really big on it, and then again, it's just like this 20-year period where, you know, I think now, and as I said a lot, I think once when Orange Tree broke up, um, I did music stuff for a little bit, but actually Ted from Orange Tree, we had a band, and then that band broke up, and I just wasn't engaged. I would do occasional like solo shows, but it just wasn't a thing. But for me, it was always in my skill set, right, of booking shows and you know trying to figure things out. And so it was just a natural fit that when I decided to launch the label, that after a few releases, I would get back in promoting shows.
Mhm.
Especially, and it was easy because I basically become, it just kind of fell into that. Oh, well, I guess Tim's going to handle the business affairs and booking for Orange Tree. And so it was just easy because I could just be like, okay, hey, Orange Street, do you want to do a show? Okay, well, let me book it. Or at Orange Street, let's go open for the Toasters, or let's do Murphy, or let's go open for Murphy's Law, right? And so it was just a natural. Once the label was up and going, it was just a natural fit to just start since I was already working as the booking agent, for a band to become, a promoter and talent buyer. So it just kind of fell hand in hand. I knew at the back of my mind when I started the label, though, at some point I was going to start doing a festival. That was just always something I knew I was going to do.
Had you been to festivals before that made you want to do a festival, or
Are
this?
you asking if he'd ever been to a festival
No,
before?
I want to know if there
Oh
was
no,
any. No, that's
I've
not what
never
I'm
been to
saying.
other than my I've never been to a concert
Have
before.
you ever
Actually,
been to a
I
That's
concert,
not what
Sue?
I was asking, Eric.
I don't even go to
Dude,
my own
Jess, you're cut off.
festivals.
You're cut off from question.
Eric,
I
that
don't
is
even go
not what I was asking. You didn't
I,
let me finish.
I don't even go to my own festivals. I just stand outside the venue and been like, ah, I hope they have a good I hope they have a really good set. And then I
Selling
listen to
bootleg merch
Miss
outside, being like, "Hey, here's a festival T-shirt, $5, $5."
and I spell Ninguid wrong on the bootleg merch.
I'm going to finish my question.
Go ahead. I'm so sorry, Jess. I'm so
I
sorry.
was getting to, was there a specific festival or more than one festival that inspired your festival?
Yeah, I wouldn't say
He said no.
that,
The question
but
bomb.
no, I mean, I
Not you.
I remember going to Ska Weekend, like one of the last Ska weekends, if not the last one, and remember thinking, this is nice. I wish we did something like this in St. Louis. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of times when you see that I'm doing something, it's literally the thought I have of, oh, someone should do this. And then it's like, oh wait, I have a ska label. Like because it was just like even when I like approaching Secret Cajun Band about get releasing Big House, I one of my favorite like when I was listening to one of my favorite songs of theirs, and I said, "Oh, you know what? Someone should release them on vinyl." And then I just kind of paused and was like, "Oh, I could do that. Let me let me let me reach out. Let me reach out and see if there's any interest." So, but that's and it sounds silly, but that's generally when I do something, it comes from the thought of someone should do something, and then I go, oh, I guess I could do that. Did any of you ever go to any of the Sky weekends in Knoxville,
Nope.
Where's Knoxville?
Tennessee?
I know. No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I thought
Hey,
he was serious
you
too.
guys didn't know what time zones were, so I didn't. Who am I to
Wait,
know?
wait, wait. You can't say
That's
you
all
guys.
me.
You
That
meant
was
Jess.
all me.
That
Oops.
who was at your first fest? Who
Uh,
played your first one?
First one was headline night one by Suki Cajun Band. No, no. So it was well, Orange Tree and Secret Cajun Band were the headliners.
Okay.
Then we had yeah, no, Orange Tree played night one. So it was Orange Tree. It was courtesy of Tim. Um,
Ooh, nice.
yeah, we had Sergeant Skag. We had Rum Luck. Um, I'm obviously I'm gonna forget someone here, and I'm gonna feel really bad. Oh, Coolidge. And let's see, who else? Is that it?
Didn't Matt come out for
No,
that?
that was Scholar Days.
Oh, that was holidays. Okay,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, that was Scholar Days that he came, and he did an amazing job. So now you have me going to my website or my Facebook pictures. Now I'm so nervous about forgetting someone. Um, so I'm checking it out right now. So yeah, we had Orange Tree, Rum Luck, Mega Infinity, Secret Cajun Band, Sergeant Skag, and Boss Battle. That was who it is. Boss Battle. They did a set of as BB330 where they played 80% of their set was MB330 covers.
Nice.
Nice. Sounds like a great time.
It was like I've been meaning to put up the video of of the Boss Battle set because they did Who's Your Love and they had something like I think like 10 horn players, including
Of course.
including Nick from Suki Cajun Band that was in AMD 30 at one point. He's the trumpet player, one of the trumpet players on Chumps on Parade. So he was on stage. And it was funny. He was telling me a story, and I hope I don't embarrass anyone. Um, but if they do, the label provides the
The
mental health
four
coverage for the
people who are
therapy.
listening
Yeah. So after they did Who's Your Love, Nick goes to compliment the band, and he's like, "Hey, man, this sounded you guys just reminded me just of my MD 30 days." And when someone goes, "Oh wait, you were in MD 30?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, I was in MD 30 with with Rob
Oh,
because
that's
Rob
awesome.
Bell also played trumpet for or trombone for BBC 30." He's like, "Yeah, I know, I was." He's like, "I was in I was in MD 30. I was on Chumps on Parade," and it was just it was I love there's something about awkward moments that like I kind of like,
I
because
have
I think
them daily. I understand.
yeah, so because I have a lot of awkward moments, so it's just like I'm not the only I'm not the only one who has awkward moments. So it was a little fun, but they're all friends now, and I'm sure that they're gonna send a little anniversary card this summer, like, hey, remember when you didn't know I was an MBT 30, and like little hearts around it. So
It's got
it's
to have little hearts.
yeah, all's well that ends well.
What so as a as an organization, I'll say, or a media company that is starting to throw shows, what did you learn from your first festival to your second festival that were like the lessons of, ooh, let's do this differently, or ooh, things should go this way? What are some maybe pointers you can give
Sure.
to people who want to throw shows?
You know, that's a great question. I think one of the things I would say is you want to be organized, and you want to because I'm going to give some of this information I already know, right? So, um, last year when I was in the selection phase, and just get a heads up that there's going to be content and a trigger warning for violence here. But last year, uh, when I was in the selection phase, my daughter's trunk or treat, there was at her school a police officer who was going to a divorce decided to like fire his gun because he got mad. He was an off-duty police officer, and so luckily no children were hurt. A bunch of dads tackled him to the ground. Um,
So a bunch of dads tackled the
yeah,
police officer who's
yeah, the
going
police,
crazy.
yeah, tackled him to the ground. Uh, got in a couple of punches to the guy, and but like I had to take a break from this because for me taking care of my daughter was the most important thing, right? So we had to, but luckily I was organized. And then this year, for this year's fest, during the process where I'm getting ready to get all this stuff, and I'm again content warning, and I just want to preface this with she is fine now, but my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and so it was like I had to pause because again family is the most important thing to me.
Yeah.
And and so like I was organized, right? So hopefully But most people, when they're trying to, if they're wanting to do this, they don't have these traumatic events. But I do want to just say that you want to be in a good headspace, because the worst part about this is I mean, the worst part about the normal side of like the selection process, right? Not, what the segues I had to go through was when you have to send those rejection emails. Like, you want to be kind. Well, the biggest piece of advice is you want to send them. Like,
Okay.
I book for, like I said, I do the booking for Orange Street and booking for Sugar Cajun Band. They want to do fest, right? And we submit the fest, and
Okay.
we never hear anything back, right? Nothing.
Yeah.
And for me, there's no excuse for that. You can just take the submissions. You can sort by booked, not booked. Take all those emails. If you don't want to send an individual email like I do,
Mhm.
put blind carbon copy. Sorry, maybe next year, right? And um, I write every single band that I can't book. And it does actually, it wrecks my mental health. There the Last year was bad, and then this year was a little bit better just because I knew what I was going to be experiencing in that moment. The best way I can describe it is I saw an interview with Sarah Silverman when she was at the height of like doing all those like roast, and she said, and someone's like, "How are you able to do those roast?" And she said, "Well, let me tell you, we do the roast, and then we go home and we lay in bed for like 2 days because you just feel
Aw.
so bad about yourself, because you've now hearing is just people tell you how much you suck as a human being, joking or not.
Mhm.
And that's an equal feeling. Like this year, it was thankfully, like, I wouldn't say Miguel from Secret Cajun Band made a point, because he knew that this particular weekend was going to be the weekend I was going to, let everyone know. He made a point to check in on me. So the
Best.
second piece of
They
advice
call
is,
it Ninguid Best too.
We gotta throw down the card, like in the. What, Jess? What just happened?
I don't know.
what was that? A demon just entered the chat.
Wait, I think I was the demon though. I
I
don't know.
think you were the demon.
But
Go ahead. Sorry about that.
surround yourself with good people. That like one like I said, like a Matt who will call you out, or like and or who will lift you up, right? Or like a Miguel that will just chime in. But the main thing is, and I know you said things that I learned, it was is just, you got to do that courteous thing, right? Because what goes around comes around, right? So there are bands that are like, hey, you don't want to deal with those guys because they're dicks, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want to deal with their management team because he's a dick.
Mhm.
One of the things I would say also is, and I mentioned this earlier, I try to keep prices low. Last year, I believe ticket prices were like $17 and then like $30 for two. Um, Again, to what you said earlier, I don't put yourself in a place where you're going to end up having to come out of pocket if possible,
Mhm.
right? No, so again, while I did make money last year. If something came up, like if a band was just like, hey, we want, I know we agreed to this, we want more money. I would have had to come out of pocket for that. Not that any of the bands that played last year would do something like that, or even the bands playing this year, but you don't ever want to be in a situation. So I increased prices, but still kept them low just to have a larger cushion. So, and in retrospect, I would have had the same prices that I have this year for last year.
Okay. Nice. And what from a from a somebody who wants to be part of the scene, or from somebody who is showing up to concerts, like what do uh what do you need from people showing up? Like our tagline is, if you want a scene, you have to be part of that scene. Like what is your message to people who are like, I want a ska scene?
If you want to ska sing, you got to go to ska shows. I mean,
Yes.
that's just it. You gotta buy merch. Like, I was both nights at the festival when I was introducing the the headliners, I got on the mic. I thanked everyone for coming, but I also said, "Hey, if you want me to keep doing this, I need you to buy my records. I need you to buy my records. I need you to buy my shirts because if you don't do this, there's going to be a point where Mrs. Snow is going to say, uh, fuck this." I'm not gonna let you go out of pocket, doing like nerd fantasy like camp for music, right? And so, you know, and again, my wife's a musician and an actress, so she's not like she's heartless, but she's also like me, where she's very pragmatic about this stuff. So, you know, it's you know, I think a lot of people don't feel comfortable saying, "Hey, I want you to buy merch," or "You need to buy merch." Because again, I like those awkward moments, I will say, I'm like, look, you want this, you got to have it. But again, also, hey, here's some free shit. You come to my merch booth, you're gonna get more than a sticker. If you're cool and you're buying stuff, you're probably getting another record, like a full, like you'll get it is something, right? And so it's one of those things where it costs money to do this, right? And you know like I like you just can't showing up sometimes just isn't enough. Sometimes you gotta help. And I'm not saying if you don't like a band that you feel obligated to buy them, or if you don't like a design I did for Orange Tree or Secret Cajun band that you feel obligated. But if you are like, hey, look, I do want to support you. How do I do that? It is really buying stuff. I see more money from you buying a record than percentage wise that I see from that I see from you buying a ticket. It's just it is because there's I was explaining this to my wife, but the first festival where I was showing her like, okay, here's the settlement sheet, right? So you look right off the bat, 10% goes to taxes. 10% just goes to taxes, right? And so we'll talk about we'll use the Secret Cage band
Okay.
night. They did 150 people, which for first year and a 340 seat venue, that's a good number, right? We did 140 people. The ticket prices, again, I believe were 16, $17. Um, so that's 150 times seven. You take that 10% off the bat, goes to the venue or goes to taxes. The
Mhm.
remaining amount, 30% that goes to the venue. Right. So now I have this 70% post tax, and then I have to pay the bands, out of that. So, you know, again, while I it's profitable, it would be nicer just to have that, to keep just being able to know I can to just justify every year help from the, buying merch. So that is important. Like when bands are saying, "Hey, we need you to buy merch to get to the next town," that's not bullshit. That's not hyperbole. It is 100% true. Just, buying merch. Even, you know, buying like $3 or something, or it goes a lot further than you would expect for a band, and it means a lot.
Awesome. So show up and actually buy some merch
Yeah,
and help them get to the next town
yeah,
because
And bring your friends and tell your friends to show up too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And this, is in this, like, I remember I just posted one on my personal Facebook where it was listings from 19 December 1997, and it was listing from a bunch of venues, and it was bananas to see that there were shows that like Sugar Hill Gang for $12, at this
yeah,
15
we did the same.
at this 1,500 cap theater, and like all these Alkaline Trio, well, I mean, it was a little later, but it was like Alkaline
Right.
Trio, you know $7, right? And I was talking to someone, I was like, if I booked shows at these prices today, right, couldn't I would have to come out of pocket. I would go out of business. And like, so, it's amazing how they were able to stretch that money so far. But then you
Yeah.
also hear those stories where like people were getting a value meal McDonald's and sharing it across six bandmates. That sounds like an exaggeration. I actually saw that. I also once saw a band share a chicken strip dinner. Well, three members of the band share a chicken strip dinner at Denny's. And at the time when we were ordering, I didn't realize that they were sharing this
Mhm.
chicken strip dinner. And if I'd known, I would have been like, "Oh, I you can all have you can all have a chicken strip dinner." Like, so like that the 90s, right? But
Sure.
that was so l- again, buy stuff so bands don't have to share chicken strip dinners at Denny's.
Or also show up with chicken strips is
Or
what you're saying?
yeah, or go, or, yeah, yeah,
Chicken strips
exactly.
for all.
I'm assuming that every supermarket is like some of our larger chains where you can get pre-cooked chicken strips. So
Yeah.
you can get like 30 for something like 15, $20. Just show up. Just show up with the chicken strips and like, here you go, bandos. Have at it. Feast is on me tonight.
And I think too, I mean, I know we just joked about that, but uh like it's not about bands getting rich.
Yeah,
Like if you want to get rich, don't join a ska band. It's probably a
yeah,
bad financial decision, but it's about them being able to make it from town to town to town. And sometimes a t-shirt or two gets them from Chicago to Detroit as compared. So like 25 bucks, as you said, can go a huge way
yeah.
for a band.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, it can. And it's just again, it's not about just being present. It's about being engaged, right? I'm gonna say something. It's gonna maybe be controversial, but hopefully
Yes.
it's not taken that way.
Sure.
So my mom is a minister, right? She's been a minister for like 50 plus years. Okay. Yesterday her 70th birthday is this week. We her big wish was that we all went to church, and it just happened with this service. This was almost basically a celebration of her beating cancer, right? But one of the things that was she said when she was on the pulpit was you don't just come to church to sit in the pew. You got to be engaged in your community. You got to go out. You take the money from the tithes and you go to like the poorest area in your town and you take that money and you see people and you say, "Hey, I see you have groceries. I'm from this church. We want to help you out. We want to pay for your groceries. You just can't sit in a pew and think that that counts as doing good in your community." And it's the same thing when it comes to like supporting music. You just can't just show up, um, hang outside the venue, bum a cigarette, and think that you're helping out. Now, again, if that's all you can do and all you can afford, I completely get it. Like that's, but you gotta help build this scene. You gotta help, work. You gotta go out and do that community stuff because again, $25 really is make it or break it for a lot of bands.
And if you can't afford it, there are ways that you can contribute without spending money. Like a post, share a post, comment, tell your friends about it. Like
Yeah, I did
that's
this
free.
I did this project where I wanted to just do I called it like average Midwest dad and I had a goal of I was going to do 100 videos
Mhm.
uh, every day for 100 days a video. And it was okay on TikTok, but I would and then like, Instagram there's not really much like engagement, same thing with Facebook. But like the negative comments all came exclusively on YouTube. And every negative comment that I got, I would respond with the same thing. Thank you so much for the engagement.
Uh-huh.
Because you taking the time to tell me that I look weird or that you didn't like my story, all it did was made face or YouTube go, oh, well, we'll send it to a few more people because someone feels a way about this because it doesn't as good as these algorithms are, they can't tell the difference between an insult and like, oh, I like this, so this is why I'm saying something. So that, like, even insulting, me still gets me
Mhm.
gets me out there. And it's the same thing to your point, Jess. Sharing has way more in today's day and age, right? Has way more power than people realize.
Yep.
That that you share it, and then one of your friends shares it, and then one of their friends shares it, and especially on on Facebook, right? The algorithm goes, oh, okay, well, we'll push this, right? So like when I book a show, I set aside I set aside funds for advertising, right? Depending on the show. So if it's what we'll call the tentpole shows, so the Scala Day of the fest, I'll do about $500 worth of targeted ads. If it's a smaller show, about $100, right? But when you and your friends are sharing those posts and you're liking the pages, and you like Sky and whatnot, and that's an interest of yours, that helps me out because I put my target as, okay, who likes Sky? Okay, who likes Streetlight Manifesto? Who likes Less Than Jake? Who listens to Jeff Rosenstock? Okay, great. You're gonna get this, right? So like right now we're on a loop where everyone in the country is getting that ad. So if you've seen it, I apologize. I know my wife has complained to me because she's seen it a bunch already. But like it helps because even just sharing and then you liking, that it helps the algorithm when it comes to my sponsoring those ads. So it's something, yeah, something that simple that
And it doesn't take that much
that's
effort.
like the effort, but behind the scenes, it helps out a lot, especially when it comes to ad sales.
So this is where we'll plead to everyone to please like, follow, subscribe, share, do all those things because you don't know how much it helps us.
Yeah.
Even if you get sick of seeing our stuff, just scroll past it. Like it, scroll.
And
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 buy a t-shirt. I'm sorry,
And buy a t-shirt. We don't have
and,
t-shirts,
or a
but he
patch or a
does.
sticker.
and I'm offering a service where I will go to anyone's house that does not like or subscribe this podcast, and I will break into their house, grab their devices, and like and subscribe for you.
Oh,
Ooh,
wow. Yeah, I
that's
told you we had to do
intense.
this interview, Eric.
What'd you say?
I told you we had to do this interview.
I'd like if you could videotape yourself doing that. That would
I'm
be
not gonna. I'm not gonna just like I tell Secret Caged Band when I do these international crimes, I do not videotape them. I'm not going to make it easier for the police to bust up my ring.
I am. I'm going to switch conversations for 1 second, which is a unique spot to end
No
at.
way, no
But
way.
this is one of the one thing I ask everybody because I'm so interested to know. And if you don't have an answer, just make the shit up, okay?
Okay.
But
I've
what
lied. Everything I've said so far has been a lie, so it's fine.
I figured that much. So you're not really coming to my house and
Oh
bring.
no, I'm definitely coming to your house tonight.
Yes. Wait, I sounded too excited for that, didn't I?
Yeah, a
But
little bit.
so what was the so I'm going to ask you two questions.
Okay.
First question was what was the first either record, tape, or probably record or tape for you that that you own that like really got you into music? And my second question is what was that moment or what was the band that you heard that got you into either like the ska punk side of things?
All right, great question. First that I ever owned that got me into music, it would have probably been Weird Al Yankovic Owl in 3D,
Nice.
because just like a lot of people in the scene, the Weird Al They Might Be Giants to ska pop line is is very powerful. Now again, now just to be clear, that's the first thing I ever purchased, right? I
Okay.
would say the first thing that ever actually got me into music was our car had an 8-track player, and my
Okay.
parents also had an 8-track player. Was Kenny Rogers the Gambler soundtrack on 8-track.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. That there was just something about that song, and you know, for whatever reason, Kenny Rogers is much beloved in the black community. Like there's like that song, like the actual song, "The Gambler," is sampled in so much hip hop, and it's just one of those odd bedfellow things, right? But he's very much beloved in the black community, at least from people that are people in my age group that that are around that late 40s age group, late 40s early 50s age group. First thing that would got me into ska. um so that's a trick question, right? Because
Ooh,
I don't think I knew, like a lot of people my age group, when I first heard ska, I don't think I knew that there was a genre called ska,
yeah.
right? So it was it was honestly not necessarily a purchase album. It was a lot of just John Hughes films because
Really?
he featured a lot of two tone,
He did.
right? But I didn't know what ska. Same way Back to the Beach. I didn't know Fishbone was ska because I didn't know, right? The
Yeah.
first time I heard the word ska, I was in high school. There was a guy, Mark, who was telling me about his band was playing, and it was a ska band, and he's like, "Hey, we just put a cassette," and I'm like, "What did you say this was?" And he's like, "Ska." I'm like, "Is that the name of your band?" He's like, "No, no, this is the name of our band." He's like, like, "But we play ska music," and I'm like, "Well, that's a really dumb name, and I don't know if I something I want to be associated with," and and because it was weird, right? That was because we're talking at this point that this would be 1990, 1991, 92 in the Midwest, right?
So that
So
was really the ska moment, or
yeah, that was my first real moment. And then like just a year later, right, 93, I discovered the urge, right? And you know, anyone that was in St. Louis during that time, if they don't tell you that the urge was a big influence on them, they're lying. Because they're lying, or they just really weren't here during the time. Because the urge, they were doing stuff. They were doing It was like having our own version of Fishbone, only arguably tighter, right? um Depending on your definition of what you consider tight or not. But they were, and there was a lot of similarities. You watch old Fishbone videos. They're wearing Urge shirts. You watch old Urge clips, and they're wearing Fishbone shirts. But at the live level, seeing the Urge in in the early mid '90s was life changing for me. But again, that's not a special thing because again, if you talk to any St. Louis musician that are part of the ska scene, they'll likely give you that same answer.
how about today? What do you use Spotify? Whatever
I
you use. What is like if we opened up your streaming device, what would we see? What is heavy listening right now?
Well, right now, because a lot of my Spotify listening is with the kid, the older one at her bus stop.
Yeah.
She pretty much gets to choose. So I'll give you my daughter's playlist.
Ooh,
Number one is Butt Steak by Secret Cajun Band.
okay. Good
Number
choice.
two is Mr. Bus by Skank and Pickle. Number three is "Wake Me Up Before You Go" by Wham. And then number four is "Dance with the Sugar Plum Fairies" from the Nutcracker.
Nutcracker, yeah.
So those are the four songs that basically every day while we're waiting for the bus that are on the loop on the Spotify.
That's fun.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I will say that my daughter has a huge role in acts to that sign. So I have. So I'm sorry if this was already going to be part of your questions, but first thing is there's a sniff test, like where I'm like I find out if these guys the band is assholes or not.
Yeah.
Once I get past that, then I'm all about listening to it. Then I send the music to a couple of people that I trust, like, hey, what do you think about this? And then the last thing is I play the music for my 7-year old to see how she reacts. And
Really?
if she's excited and she's dancing and she's just like, I like this music, Daddy, then I know I probably I have a good thing on my hands. Uh, but I think but as for but I think for me it's a little different, right? Because I'm listening to things that a lot of stuff I'm listening to, I can't even tell you that I'm listening to it because a lot of it is bands sending me stuff in hopes
Yeah.
that I will put it out on vinyl.
Yeah.
So So there are times where I honestly I take a break. So it's great to have those moments with my daughter when we're listening to those the same four songs every day. But then like I'll listen to like anything from, Joyce, like a lot of people, Joystick, Flying Raccoon Suit, a lot of the Bad Times bands, a lot of the Ska Punk International bands, you know, Matt Flood, Asbestos Records, listen to a lot of the stuff his releases. Um, but I'm also a person that practices what they preach. I have a whole stack of vinyl that I've purchased from bands on tour that come through on tour that I haven't listened to yet, just because like I try to because again practicing what I preach. I try to buy as much merch as I can. So one of my summer projects this year after the fest is to go through all the vinyl that I that I have purchased that I have not listened to in the last year.
Nice.
I do that too.
So, Jess, do you want to ask him where we can learn more about his
Yeah, I
festival?
mean, I thought I was going to ask him that last question, and then you jumped on.
You know, I don't follow outlines. It's
I
my
know, I know. So, I wanted, before I get into that, for people who are thinking about coming to your festival, what advice can you give them? This is just happens at night, right? It's like doors
Yeah,
6 o'clock.
yeah. Doors
So
six.
if somebody's traveling, and what can they do? What can they see during the day while they're there?
I would recommend going to the arch, but not going in the arch. Uh, the arch is a lovely monument. It's great architecture design, but it has a tram, and the tram often gets stuck,
Yeah.
and it takes hours. So if you're traveling in St. Louis, especially if you're a band playing, do not go into the arch because I will be very pissed if you go into the arch and you get stuck and you miss.
That's really good advice.
There's also a lot of great barbecue, right, in St. Louis. And if you're a person that prefers a barbecue joint, a place where it's just old school charcoal, and the health inspector might shut it down any day now, but it's gonna be the best barbecue you like. We got that. If you're more of a, I like barbecue restaurants. I like it clean. I like it run, out of an old hickory pit that is just, cranking everything out like just at a huge restaurant um numbers. We got that. We got stuff in between. Also we have a lot of free stuff. We have, the St. Louis Zoo is free. History Museum is free. Art Museum is free. It's literally part of their charters. Then we have the botanical gardens that if you're not from St. Louis, there's a nominal fee, but it's still cheap and affordable. There's a lot of amazing just things to do. Or if you could just come walk up and down the street of Delmar where the venue is. We have the St. Louis Walk of Fame where, people like Tina Turner or Jennifer Williams from Blackish and from a different world. She has a star in the Walk of Fame. I'm sure Nelly has one on the Walk of Fame, and you could just go Mike McDonald, right? He has one. So all these people that are from St. Louis, it's just like the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Only it's just people specifically who are St. Louis. And so the thing is, St. Louis is a great town that if you don't have any money, you can still find things to do, and you can even walk from the venue to the a couple of those things that I mentioned, like the art. I mean, it's gonna be I'll be honest with you, it's gonna be about a 45-minute walk, but you can walk from the venue to the history museum and like just chill out there for free. Um, and yeah, so there's a lot of cool stuff to do. Just don't go up inside the arch.
Don't go inside the arch. Is there lodging close by?
Yeah, there are a couple of places. There is the Cheshire Inn, which is about 2 miles away, and then there is a venue, a hotel right next to the pageant that's also owned by the owner of Blueberry Hill and the pageant and Denmark Hall, and Moonrise Hotel is more of a boutique hotel. I'm going to be honest with you, it's a little bit on the pricier side. But you would basically be within walking distance of the venue.
Oh, cool. And if
Um,
you have to drive there, what are parking arrangements? Is there a lot? Should people Uber?
there are lots and there's street parking. So this is what's called the Del Mar Loop. It is a very foot traffic friendly place. There's a lot of shops, a lot of restaurants of different styles. So if you like Thai, there's Thai. If you like if you like hamburgers and whatnot, you got that. You got Mexican based food that you got that as well. So there's even like I said, even if you just stayed on that street, like there on Delmar, there are a lot of just amazing shops, amazing restaurants, and things for you to do. And it's funny, you just see kids of generations to generations to generations all just have been hanging out on on this street, for years. And so yeah, I mean, there's really anything that you could want to do, probably you could probably do on this street. And it's and like I said, you're so close to what's Forest Park, which is where the zoo, St. Louis Zoo, the History Museum, the Art Museum, they're in. So, but yeah, it's a very, but yeah, there is off street parking, and there are parking lots around the venue, public parking around the venue.
Oh, Adam's giving some tips in the comments here. He's saying Moonrise Hotel, Pinup Bowl, thrift shops, all on Delmar.
Yep,
Okay. I
the
assume Adam is going to be there. So,
Pinup Bowl is a bowling alley.
okay.
Yeah, and it's
To our
really
list.
it is shooting one of the, it's more of, and that's more of a night thing. It's more where a lot of people go after because I believe that it is open till 3 a.m.
Ah, okay. So that's where everyone goes for the after party.
Yeah, you like if, especially like larger shows at the pageant, you'll also see people just kind of there's the pageant has a sidebar called the Halo next to it, but it was actually at one point a 3 o'clock bar, but now it's a 1:30 bar, and then you just walk over to the pinup, and again, like I said, it's a 3 o'clock bar, and people just hang out. And then
Nice.
if you want to, you can do bowling, but I'll just be honest with you, the bowling is like a little expensive. It's on the pricier side.
Adam will rest his skanking shoes at Pinup Bowl.
Did he say that?
He
Or
did. He said that.
I
I
can't see
didn't make it up. I did not make it up. For anyone who was just at This Is Our Curtain Fest with us this past weekend and met Adam, it sounds like Adam's going to be there. So you got a friend. Go meet up with Adam. Say hello to Tim. I'm sure he wants you to say hello. And have a great time. It sounds like a really great festival. And you got some great bands playing. We got to see Joystick last weekend and we got to talk to them. They actually mentioned this festival
Yep.
since it's on their it's upcoming for them. And then Stuck Lucky. I have not yet been able to see them, but I'm going to see them at Camp Punks this year.
Nice.
And we did interview them recently. You can circle back and listen to that interview. And Flying Raccoon Suit is amazing too. They're all amazing. Like I can't.
That
I
is a stellar lineup that you have there.
It
So
really is. For your
I
second year in the festival.
yeah, I worked very hard to curate a very great net of music. And again, that's not to say that anyone who's not included isn't great. Like I said, I wish I was a billionaire. Ninguid Fest would last like 2 weeks, and then every single band that requested to play could play. And then you guys would be like, well, that's a really weird way for him to that billionaire to go bankrupt. But at least he's one of the good ones that we won't hurt. But like that's like the thing. Like I do really do. I actually had that thought this morning. Like, man, I just wish that it was viable to that every band that wanted to play can play. And maybe one day,
I
maybe
mean,
go
keep
ahead.
growing.
Yeah, keep growing, and the international crime that I've been doing, I've been saving that money. So, well, fingers crossed.
Well, it sounds good. If you can make it out to Ninguid Ska Festival, get out there, be a part of the scene, show up, advance, buy the merch.
before we let you go, give our audience the the website, the information. Do a 2-minute plug that we can put on
Where
our
can you be
Facebook page
found
and
besides
my
other
friend's
people's
page.
houses?
Besides other people's houses and my own house, we can be found at Ninguid Records across all social media. So Ninguid, and then if you don't know how to spell records, if you just type in Ninguid, it's going to pop up. We have everything from Facebook to Twitter,
Space.
to Instagram. Oh yeah, of course MySpace. That was first. Instagram to our neglected sites and YouTube and TikTok. But yeah, we're there. Uh, we're very active. If you're mean to us, we'll just type thank you for the engagement. And I actually shouldn't say that. Occasionally we'll get trolls, especially now that we're running ads. And I think one of the issues that uh, the trolls are finding is that I clap back. So if you say, so if you say something mean on the business page, I will hurt your feelings. So if nothing else, just come to social media because I don't delete this shit. So just come to my account, especially our Facebook. Just come and see me, humble people.
That's what I'm doing tonight after this.
Yeah, we're gonna get some popcorn and go
Yeah,
do this.
yeah. So, but like, one of the things that's really big about the label is that like I'm really big about community, and so yeah, reach out, say hi, um, and yeah, so I can keep, because even I'll just keeping it 100 here, like just messages of just having those conversations. Sometimes where the days are low, and there were a couple weeks ago where the days were just it just kept feeling low and low. When I'm like, is this something that I want to continue? Like just random messages really help. And like okay, I'm doing this for Jess. I got I'm doing this for Jess. I gotta keep doing it. So but yeah, and again I appreciate all that stuff. And a weird thing about me is I say I appreciate all this stuff, but I also hate attention. So like I have this rule that, or at least understanding like, hey, if you publicly thank me like at a show like the fest, I will like turn and like start blushing. And actually I had a friend who noticed that like every time a band thanked me last year that I it just looked so uncomfortable. And she's like, I've never seen you, look uncomfortable in a public space. Because to your point earlier, Eric, I'm not doing this to get rich. I'm doing this to help this scene. I've always called Ninguid Fest, I've always called Ninguid Fest my love letter to the scene. Scholadies is my gift to the scene. But the fact is, this is the reason why the lineups are just so stellar, and the reason why it just I can't sleep when I'm telling bands that they can't be part of it. Is that this really truly is my love letter to the scene, and I just want to keep producing low cost shows so that people can go and not have to worry about paying ballpark prices for a beer until I become a trillionaire, and then all of my shows will be in stadiums, and then I'm gonna make all that money back and charge like $50 for a beer. But for
Oh
now,
man.
yeah,
But for
I
now,
can't
get it while you can get a
get
$6 beer.
it. Yeah, actually, some of the things that we do even cheaper than that, like $4 and $5. So, but yeah, it's you know, I am appreciative, and I'm appreciative of you too. But I'm again appreciative of like people don't realize that sometimes it's like just seeing it. Thanks for doing this, Tim, and on a on a comment, just really, especially when there are days where just the business side, and I'm just dealing with people, and they're like, why can't they be professional like me? Like it really does help me out and get and give me that energy that I need.
Noted.
So I think our tagline is always if you want to if you want to sing, you have to be part of that scene. And to close this up, though, I think Tim has given us a lot of ways we can do that. Everything from just hitting like and sharing it to saying, "Hey, great job," to buying a T-shirt. So once again, if you want these great bands and you want Tim out there throwing shows and producing vinyls that we all want, like we have to buy one, but we also have to encourage these guys and send them a message every now and then and be like, Thank you. Thank you for doing this for us. So as a fanboy, I appreciate what you do. So thank you, Tim.
Thank you. And just to be clear, that's not even just me. Joe Baker from Orange Tree is one of my best friends, and even with Tim, like with someone, he's had Orange Tree, since he was, 13 years old, and even someone just typing, "You guys rock," will help his. Well, it's the same way, and and then all the guys in Orange Tree and all the guys in Secret KJ Band, I can tell you that we have those conversations in other bands. Like I said, it's not just me and my ego that needs to hear that those words of affirmation. It really does mean a lot to a lot of people.
Awesome.
Adam said, "Thank you, Tim."
Adam, I salute thee.
Mhm.
And again, and not just let's music. Let's just but in our non-music lives, let's just try to build people up. You don't know what anyone's going through. Again, I know I brought it down with the whole cancer and school shooting thing, but again, it's just words of encouragement got me through those. And like, and I will say this: so many of the bands that I had to say no to, a lot of those bands were bands that were constantly after the fact checking in on, on my mental health and making sure I was okay. And so just things like that, I can never say thank you enough for the fact that I'm in part of such a great scene where we try to build each other up.
And I'm gonna like rabbit trails at the end here, but you are absolutely right. I have gone through stuff in life lately, and I will be honest, people who have known for 20, 25 years pretended not to see it, but seen friends who have known for a little bit of time, who I've messaged and seen at concerts, were the people who were sending me messages being like, "Hey, dude, you seem different. You okay? What's going on?" So the support of the community in the scene is amazing, I believe too.
Yeah, this community is unmatched for sure.
All right. Do you want to say good night or
Yeah, I guess that's it. Unless you have something else to add, Tim.
No, I just again I want to thank you. I want to thank you both. I'm very appreciative of the time, and maybe next time we do this, we'll uh we'll make sure that we know what time zones are, and we know
that was
and
just yes. We all do
and
that
Yeah,
yes.
I'm
and
blushing.
and know what dates are. We'll look at both a calendar.
Oh my goodness, yes.
We'll let
Oh,
you plan the next time and date you
Yeah,
tell us
yeah,
anyway.
and definitely, and again, the door is always open for anyone on the label if you want to talk to. Um, except some of the ones that we have restraining orders against. But anyone else on the label, if you ever want to talk to them, just hit me up and I'll work to make it happen.
that sounds great. Thank you
Awesome.
so much.
You're
Hey,
welcome.
thank you so much, Tim. Thanks for coming on too.
Thank you. I appreciate you both.
Talk soon. Thank you.
All right, good night, everybody.